Yo, welcome back to the Silence of Shame podcast. It's your girl Life, and I'm super excited about the individuals we have in the studio. I have Auntie Shanti is in the building. I would love for her to tell us about our partnership with NFLPA, just so we know how we are connected to not just individuals in the community, but really, really connected to our athletes and sports. Auntie Shanti, NFLPA. What
and I want to say,
on?
first of all, thank you. You have been killing it as the host of the Silence of Shame podcast. So thank you for all that you do for us, Life.
You're very welcome.
We're very grateful. So so super excited. You know, this marks our second year that we've been partnering with the NFLPA. In 2020, we were granted partnership and we received a grant from the NFLPA as their mental health charitable partner. And guess what? We are back for another season.
Super excited.
Shout out to the NFLPA and PAF. I want to shout out Carl Francis, my girl Leslie Isler, Bassie, Justine, the whole team over there who are allowing us to do this work. But I just appreciate how the NFLPA looks at mental health and wellness. They make it, a regular part of all of their programming and different things that they do, especially for former players and athletes as well as current players. And it's just important that we continue to have these conversations in the athletic community, particularly in the football community, because, you got to have that mental toughness. But what does that really mean when you kind of break it all down, right? We were kind of raised and trained. I used to be a football trainer, and I would hear our coaches all the time telling the players in high school, Mays High School, and Brandon's mom went to Mays. So shout out to Brandon's mom, class of 82, Benjamin and Mays High School. But anyway, I digress. But no, so we would hear the coaches talk about having that mental toughness, right?
Yeah.
But to me, in this day and age, it's not the same, right? It's a little bit of both, right? You need that mental toughness.
I think it was that way back then. It's just it's a way of looking at mental toughness.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at mental toughness, and it's a different way when you're saying be tough. Like when you tell a young brother to be tough on the football field, he thinks that's go hard on the field, like be tough in my physicality.
But you want that.
You want that,
but there's
you
another
also
layer
have to tap.
to it.
Oh, you have to tap into that mental, because then when it gets too tough, or when it gets rough, or when there are other things happening in your life, and you're looking at football as your release, you got to be able to handle both flings, because you're getting pressure from your coach to perform.
How about
but
that?
you're pressuring yourself inside to perform just
you
day to day.
You sound like a football fan.
I mean,
sorry, what's your team?
The Saints, but
what's your team?
We're going to hoot that all day long.
Falcons fans
Don't forget the red and black that's all over Silence and Shame, right?
She know I love her, because if I didn't, I would not be sitting up here with an Aints fan. It's okay, though. Shout out to New Orleans. We in the same division.
That's how we love.
That's another podcast.
Yes.
So we're gonna get into it.
So again, having that balance between mental tough and mental tough physically.
Yeah.
We bring in somebody who can speak to that one-on-one.
That's right. We got an expert.
We have a former NFL player, Brandon Chubb, who is in the building to talk about how he has managed and how he has developed and acquired skills and tools within to help him deal with both sides of that Shanti and I were talking about. Brandon Chubb, welcome in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I look forward to this conversation because of what you guys were just alluding to and everything that comes with football, sports, and kind of the culture behind it. And, it's ups and downs. And as a Saints fan, as a Falcons fan, you guys see the glory of it. But it's, it's a lot of dark days. It's a lot of troubling times. So excited to talk about that and, be vulnerable about it.
Perfect. Give us a little bit about yourself, like where you come from, what you're doing.
Yeah.
How did you get here to talking about mental wellness?
Yeah, so from Marietta, Georgia, went to college at Wake Forest.
Okay.
And then played in the NFL for 4 years. Undrafted to Los Angeles with the Rams, and that was an exciting time just because that year was the Rams' first year back in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We were on Hard Knocks. We had the number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff.
Oh, we watched you,
so,
baby.
It was Hollywood, right? And it was literal feeling of being in Hollywood, and it was a great welcome to the NFL moment. And then quickly that next year, I tore my ACL while on the Lions, and then ended my career with another torn ACL and leaving the game. So that in the interim helped me and shaped me to where I am today. You talk about our wellness team with Justine, Bassie, Amber, those people at the NFLPA we talked about before the podcast started, Inyaka. Inyaka and Justine were my first touch point to the NFLPA, and it was during a player injured reserve type program. And so that was kind of my first foray into the building and knowing what our union does. That got my wheels spinning to let me know it's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's going to end one day. So how do I prepare for that? And that's what got me here today, right? The entrepreneurial mindset was cultivated doing programs and experiences with the NFLPA in the off season to understand what I liked and didn't like, so that when that transition did happen, I didn't have like denial or, procrastinate it or run away from it and let that really tear me down. Because as you can see with not just football, but a lot of sports, guys transitioning is when they really crash out.
100%.
And that's the hard part.
And that's transitioning for many people, not from one sport out of just in life, period. So you say you went from a real high, you went into this Hollywood, you were this big star, and then all of a sudden overnight, it shuts down. Luckily, you had that wellness team in place. Luckily, you had a village around you that was supporting you. How important is that village and that wellness team in making sure you don't crash out so that others understand the need to look for support, because you can't hold all of that in or handle it yourself sometimes?
Yeah, I think it's real important just to have a support system that cares about you as a human being. We talk about mental toughness and in the literal sense, being tough and like having this mask and, you can't be soft or vulnerable because the coach looks at it as a weakness. And that's kind of the culture of our sport, 100% contact, right? But at the same time, you're inside that building and it's probably for 48 out of the 53 guys the most stressful environment they're ever going to be in. So being able to go outside the building and have people that look at you not with what your stat line is or what draft pick you were, but oh, he's a human and he's a great person, or he's a good supporter of his family or whatever, and like let's help cultivate that and help him keep that. I think it's very huge. They see you as a person
and not a position.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's different. It's a different when you see me and not my title or what I'm here for or what I'm being paid for. Like before all of that, I was Brandon Chubb. Can somebody see Brandon at this moment? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see Brandon on the field.
Right.
So I'm gonna hand it over to Shanti because we want to give shout out to what you're doing now and really bring highlight to needing this and talking about not just being like, we tell our young boys to be tough and to not cry and, get on the field and do what you're supposed to do. But there's a lot going on and brewing inside that we need to tap into with not only our young brothers, but a lot of our transitional young age men as well as men. Like there's a lot of individuals who need this space and need to hear individuals like you, Brandon, talk about how important it is.
And I also want to, before I get into my next question for you, Brandon, I just want to again shout out the NFLPA and PAF and the mental wellness team. I mean, for years I think we've heard, fans and different people talk about how there's not enough support there, right, for athletes. And so kudos to them for really, doing the work, right, and putting the teams together that can help you all when you're on the field, but also, to your point, transitioning, right, to life after football. I think that is incredibly important. And then being able to encourage other former players to utilize those services, right, because they can be there.
Right.
But if that's another thing,
you got to know they're there.
That's right.
And you have to use them.
That's
and it's people like you, Brandon, who can encourage other, but it's okay to ask for help. You can't... Everybody needs help. Every human being in this world needs help. It needs a support system. Just reach out.
That's
some people, they're scared. I'm a man. I got this. I can do this on my own.
That's right.
Reach out.
And that's why I'm so excited and inspired by you. I mean, you're 30 years young,
right?
And you're an entrepreneur now. You just recently had your grand opening of your Do Not Disturb Wellness Studio. So tell me what inspired you to start the studio, and how do you hope it will serve vulnerable communities and populations?
Yeah, so I always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and it was kind of activated, like I talked about, with being at the PA and doing externships and got my wheels spinning. So then I was like, how do I leverage this platform as an NFL player and use that to get phone calls and meetings with people who could help or shape my perspective? And just completed business school this past month, and when I was at Kellogg, it was, all right, how can I take all this stuff I'm learning and really activate upon it? But not just do something to make money, do something that I'm passionate about. And it was a lot of tailwinds. Like post-pandemic, wellness is prioritized more than ever. But also the definition of wellness has changed, right? It's less about, do I have a six-pack and do I look good on the beach? And more about, like, can I go to bed on time? Can I not crash at 2 p.m. during the workday? Can I, wake up and not feel like crap? And, for me, being in this space of Wake Forest and the NFL for 10 plus years of my life, and having access to world-class facilities in either direction of the locker room. You can walk 25 feet and have a sauna, a cold plunge, a training room. And you come into the real world and you're a busy professional and there's something missing and you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, implicitly,
that.
like that was my wellness routine. That was like how I de-stressed. That's how I recovered mentally and physically. And now there's nothing out there in the market for me to be able to utilize to have that same opportunity to prioritize my wellness. And so seeing that there was nothing in the Atlanta market like this outside of like a Jeju bathhouse, I wanted to put something that was, one, in an accessible place like Ponce City Market and in downtown Atlanta, but also, you know, where you can do everything under one roof and not spend 4 hours of your day trying to take care of yourself and do it in 30 minutes or an hour.
And so, it's one quick second. So you're catering to athletes or to everybody, anybody in the community?
Anybody. Okay. I think it's for everybody. I think our target demographic is busy professionals. Your consultant that works 90 hours a week and flies once a week and, you know, is, you know, up till 2 a.m. doing Excel models, or that investment banker, but also that mom who has, you know, work and then family life, or that father who has...
That auntie who is a nonprofit founder and be on the plane.
Auntie will be over there, right? Do not disturb auntie.
Do not
disturb,
right?
And so it came from the background of being an athlete, but it's for everybody. It's not exclusive to any demographic of, you got to look like this or talk like this. It's for anybody who needs respite from their daily trappings of mental and physical recovery.
It's real deal. It's do not disturb.
Yeah. Put your body on do not disturb.
My kids had me on do not disturb. I cut their phones off. They took me off. But it's a real deal. Everybody needs that time to shut down. And while we're in the midst of Olympics and this, you know, like you said, now it's a new buzzword, mental wellness, mental health. Thank God it's the new buzzword, because people need to tap into those industries. But speaking of next steps, and speaking of you no longer have access to these facilities or this wellness plan that's provided for you, so many individuals in our community do not have access and lack access to affordable care, or their insurance may not pay for it. When you speak of next steps and you lose that connection to wellness, how is Do Not Disturb helping to bridge that gap so that it's not connected to me being an NFL player? Well, I wasn't, you were. But how do you make that connection and saying it's not just for an NFL player, everybody needs to Do Not Disturb at some time? Yeah,
I think first things first is from the business model, like being able to make money, but also make it accessible in the fact that we're FSA and HSA eligible. So now you're able to use healthcare benefits from your employer to subsidize some of the costs.
Big time.
But also putting it in a place where meeting people where we're at, right?
That's it.
Ponce City marketing their demographic of people that come there to shop or to eat, but also being accessible on the belt line of people walking that every Saturday, Sunday, and even during the weekday. Being able to kind of meet people where they're at, and think about that when we grow. Like, where are the demographics at the locations we're building? Are we making it so that people can come off of work and 30-minute lunch break and then go back, or come off of work and, you know, pick the kids up from school and still be able to prioritize their wellness? Redefining what it looks like redefining what it could be. It doesn't have to be your normal traditional. Some people may need a therapist, but some people may need to just rest and break, like those individuals who go. And make sure you take your time. Make sure you rest. It's imperative. Make sure you put your phone on Do Not Disturb and get some sleep. Your body grows and does different things while you're asleep that you have no idea. So kudos to you. Kudos for taking that next step, for making sure to continue to keep yourself well. Because going into, even with that and shifting from NFL, because that was your life for so long, so having to shift and having those pieces in place to be able to shift and now continuing on, we really appreciate you for being in this space and really speaking to our community about that.
And I love the name, Do Not Disturb, because the funny thing is, I didn't even realize that feature was on my iPhone, and now I turn that on to focus so much. And it's so catchy and clever. And so, you know, we at Silence and Shame will definitely be supporting Do Not Disturb and pushing it out there, not only to the Atlanta community, but to other communities. Right. And speaking of community.
There you are.
Right. A lot of what we do with Silence and Shame is, you know, we support vulnerable populations and communities around mental health and wellness, people that may not have access to care, and that sort of thing. And so why do you think it's crucial to address mental health, specifically in these vulnerable communities? I mean, because you played in, you know, Charlotte, Indianapolis, Detroit, Los Angeles, and I'm sure you saw a lot of vulnerable folks in the community. And so why do we need to address mental health and talk about some of the unique challenges that we face?
Yeah, I think first is just to destigmatize it, right? Like people think, especially men, like I can't be vulnerable, or I can't talk about this, or I can't let my spouse or my kids see me in this state, or my friends, they'll lose respect for me, or they'll think of me differently, or X, Y, and Z, or I'll come off as weak. And that's not the case. And I think that's why we have these mental health crises, is because you internalize this, and it's just bowling and building up. It's snowballing. It's a snowball effect in you until one day you just snap. And whether that snap is, an extreme, or it's just something that you're lashing out, it's not good for any party, right? And so being able to have, one, the understanding and outlets to be able to get that off your chest, or to address it head on, but then two, to have a community to support that and to cultivate that. Because even in the NFL, I remember, and I alluded to it being the most stressful place in the world, because I mean, every day, your job is up for grabs, and that's literal, right? Like even on Tuesdays, our off days, they try out guys, and they're signing 5 or 6 guys, and there's a 53-man roster. So if they sign 5 people, they got to cut 5 people.
Right.
And you think about that. I remember there'll be times I'm in my locker and I see the tryout guys walking through, and I'm like,
what position
does he look like a linebacker? Or is that a running back, right? Because if he's a linebacker, they're cutting a linebacker.
I got to go hard today.
That's a whole different level of mental stress.
That's a mental stress. My first injury ever in life where I had to get surgery was on the Lions in 2017, my second year in the league. Mm-hmm. And right behind us on the training room, every day I was in the training room, said the best availability, or the best ability is availability, right? So you have those negative like stressors and clouds over your head, and you're internalizing that and trying not to look weak, and not trying to have the physical therapist go and tell the head coach, hey, like,
he's not going to make it.
Yeah, he's not going to make it. He's not strong enough. He's not mentally tough enough. And so it's all those things that I think, even, regardless of your social economic status or your hierarchy and, pop culture, it doesn't matter. Like mental health is serious.
It's the pressures in life. The pressure. Like people realize the pressure of y'all on the field. But what you just mentioned, and how we don't realize that there's so many other pieces that play behind the scenes, not just don't hurt myself in the game this Sunday or in practice. I got to stay on top of every game, do every practice, all the time. There is no off time. Right. Even when I'm off the field, I've got to be the number one person in personality. What are your coping mechanisms? How do you stay, like even back then, and did you continue any of them now? And is some of that still physical health, and are you still working out and utilizing those skills you learned in NFL to be able to cope with things now?
Yeah,
because life is still here.
Yeah, life is even harder now. Yeah. And I'd admit, like early on, they weren't robust, right? I didn't address it head on. It took me a few years to realize, like, this isn't normal. Like this feeling isn't like how I used to be, right? It's depression. It's these other things. And one of them was, being able to sit in a cold tub and like fight for survival for 2 minutes, and like just that literally made me blank everything out of my head, because I'm just worried about like not freezing to death, and how many seconds are ticking, or going in the sauna and just really decompressing, and not being able to bring my phone in there, and not being able to talk, barely being able to breathe, and that's kind of why D&D got structured the way it is. But it's those things. It's also talking to people. It's journaling. I journal a lot. And I think that's just allowing me to release everything that's bottled up in my head, to at least address it and know that it's happening. And so it's community building. It's going to the people who you can talk to, and they have an open ear regardless of the outcome of what you're saying. And that was a big part of the wellness team at the PA. That program was called Players Association Injured Reserve. So we literally were in a room for 3 days with 15 other hurt guys. Mm-hmm. So now I can like bottle up or unbottle the emotions I have and thoughts I have about my ACL injury, because somebody next to me tore their ACL a week before me.
They understand.
Right? So we can compare notes of how you cope, or how you deal with the rehab, or what was the toughest part for you. And just doing little things like that makes you realize, it's not just me, right? Like they were going through the same peaks and valleys of, mental fortitude as well, and they had the good days and the bad days just like me, and it's just part of the process. And so that was a great outlet and release, and just trying to take that community aspect and build that circle that you can also do that with in real life now.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? Like,
I love it.
These brothers are out here supporting one another. I mean, my heart It's just so full. I mean, just that collective coping and, being able to share and build community right there within your own, fellow teammates.
Right.
That's really dope.
That's nice.
And that just makes me love the league that much more. Oh my gosh. And so I come from the entertainment background. I was head of marketing for a bunch of record companies and work with a lot of superstar artists. And so, whether you're in sports or music or, you're an actor, being in the public eye obviously can bring its own set of challenges, I think, from a mental health perspective. And so as a public figure, Brandon, how do you see your role in advocating for mental health awareness, particularly for underserved groups or kids that are, still in high school or middle school and that are playing and kind of look up to you?
Yeah, I think it starts. So I have a nonprofit. Me and my brother have a nonprofit called the Chubb Foundation, and our mission is to activate human potential, and we do that through 3 pillars: health and wellness, education, and mentorship. And so initiatives all align around those. And so, for example, I was at the Boys and Girls Club in Fort Lauderdale in Broward County, and we had this financial education program for 4 classes. So over the span of 2 weeks, it was Thursday and Friday, and being able to talk to the kids there this summer and let them know, I'm a football player, but I'm also a human, right? And it's one guy came up to me and was like, hey, I want to make it to the NFL or make it to college. What should I do? Or X, Y, and Z, and can you give me some tips? Or what's one thing you would ask Brandon? And I was able to just say, football is cool, and that's use it as a head start and an accelerator, but also focus on you. Learn what you like and don't like, because that's a way easier conversation to have at 17 than it is to try to start that process at 27.
Right.
And a lot of guys try to start that process at 27 or 30 or whenever they leave the NFL, and it's well, I don't know what I want to do, so I just go sit in a ball and just try to procrastinate it and try to avoid that next step of that uncomfortability. And so it's things like that, getting out into the community, being myself and vulnerable, and not coming off as unapproachable, but allowing me to have these candid conversations with Black men and women, or Black kids, Black males and females, to have that candor, and to also allow them to see us as real people, right? My brother is a 5th overall pick, top 60 player in the NFL, just got voted 2 weeks ago. And,
amazing.
And he's sitting in these Boys and Girls Clubs any other person, right? And he's not standoffish. He's not hey,
but
you got to
schedule. But y'all are using your platform for good. So I love that.
And so it's being able to do that. One thing that really resonated with me was, it's called Folding Clothes. It's a song by J. Cole. And at the end of the song, he does this prelude, and he's dudes from the hood are the best actors. They got to go in public and wear their face backwards. And he just explains it. And it really resonated with me, because it's as a Black man, I'm smiling when things aren't okay. Or I'm, talking tough to my boys when I'm really wanting to ask for help, but I can't, because they can't see me that way. And so acknowledging that and understanding that myself, even if I haven't experienced it per se, I can go into these communities, into these events with our nonprofit with that on my mind, and understanding that they might be coming from that perspective. So let me try to meet them where they're at.
Boy, listen, shout out to your mama again.
Shout out.
The
She's just saying that because she went to Maze.
It's the Maze connection.
They stick together. I love it.
It sounds like you got some Maze blood.
Yes, he does.
You speak of these vulnerable communities, the Boys and Girls Clubs. I used to be a unit director at Boys and Girls Club in Mississippi, so totally understand.
Really?
Yeah, did it for 4 years.
Awesome.
And the families that come through Boys and Girls Clubs and the young people that come there are looking for support. What are some of the initiatives, when you were talking about that 17-year-old and wishing you had those skills then instead of when you got 27? I work in the field of mental health, and first episode of psychosis happens at the age of 18, 19, when young brothers are usually leaving home and going into what we consider the real world, or trying to understand what it is to live life on their own. What are some initiatives and programs that you do through Do Not Disturb to sort of address that or talk to that, like the things you were talking about that you and your brother are now doing through Boys and Girls Club? Are there any other initiatives that you have coming out that can help deal with that vulnerable community? Yeah,
so with the Chubb Foundation, every year we do an annual entrepreneurship program, and we work with after-school programs or the Andrew Young YMCA. We're working with them right now to activate the kids that are already there in their community. And so having the skill set of entrepreneurship isn't something you flip a switch the next day and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's either inside of you or it's not, But sometimes you never know because you never had to make an entrepreneurial decision or even, known what an entrepreneur is, right? Somebody might think entrepreneurship is I got to start the next Facebook. And it's like, no, I mean, entrepreneurship is somebody selling lemonade on the street. And so it's things like that. We have a chess program that we do with Name of the Game Chess, Bobby Jackson. And that's something I wish I learned at 17. So I could be way better in chess right now than I can at 27 or 28 or whenever I learned it during the pandemic. Because there's so many benefits with that, right? It develops dendrites, it's decision making. His program's called Name of the Game Chess in Real Life. So he teaches chess principles based off of actual life decisions.
I like that.
And so the way I see life now and the foresight I have into 4 or 5 decisions that this one decision I might say yes or no to right now could cause is something that I think is great for kids that are in these programs. And even activating with financial literacy with the Boys and Girls Club. That's sponsored by Cash App. So it's using their infrastructure to now take it to the not just one Broward County Boys and Girls Club, but all 4 Broward counties into the Andrew Young YMCA or other institutions in Atlanta, right? And really spreading those wings like that.
It changes their trajectory in life by using your platform to influence them to think outside the box. And many times we don't get those pieces. We don't learn financial literacy at a young age, so then we go into debt.
Right.
We're not taught these things. So kudos to you. Kudos to Do Not Disturb. Kudos to the Chubb Foundation on really thinking, I wish I would have had that when I was 17, and now going back and giving it to those individuals who are going into that phase of life. So.
Yeah, and just thinking of mental health, right? Like mental health is not being able to pay a bill, right? And like that really bubbling up. Like my finances not being straight. So like having financial literacy at an earlier age allows you to have more financial empowerment on the decisions you're making. And freedom instead of being stuck with the, do I choose this or do I pay a bill or do I, eat tonight or do I,
robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
And, so, like,
and it's not the same for every, former NFL player. Unfortunately, think decisions were made differently, and sometimes there is more stress,
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about people who are making 6 figures at 22 years old and leave the game, paycheck to paycheck or really strapped for cash. And like it shouldn't be that way, right? You hit the jackpot in life, whether you play 1 year or 10 years. And I always tell guys with my role at the NFLPA is like, no matter how much money you made, right? Like you're going to end the game. If you play 20 years like Tom Brady, you're still going to be 42.
Right.
And you still got 30, 40 more years.
Because
your 42-year-old friends, when you call them up to play video games or come to the pool on a Tuesday, they're working. They got families, right? Even if you're 27, right? Like your friends are trying to start their careers. And, so you have all the money in the world. You just can't sit on it, right?
You can't sit on it.
And you have to make it.
You have to. It's not going to last forever.
Right.
Like especially if you're living the life. And when you first get in, I get big money at 22. You got to figure that out early on. Brandon, this is good. You have been amazing in giving big nuggets.
I mean, it starts with you guys.
I mean, I really hope that we can collaborate with the Chubb Foundation. And of course, we're going to be supporting Do Not Disturb. So we just got a few more questions left for you, but this has been amazing. I want to ask you, because I'm sure I know your brother is still in the league. Shout out to your brother. How do you feel your former teammates and athletes perceive the connection between physical and mental health? Because again, even though like people are talking about it, mental wellness is a buzzword. I think some people are still teetering, right? Because when they have physical health problems, you go straight to the doctor. But sometimes with mental health, it's still a challenge. Do you think there's still a certain level of disconnect there, or have you seen it with any former players?
Yeah, and to the converse, Doug Middleton, who we spoke about earlier, he's a teammate of mine. I did that program with him at the NFLPA 5 years ago, and that's how we first met. And he started a yoga studio, Dream Yoga, in Valentine.
Dream Yoga?
Yeah, Dream Yoga in Valentine, North Carolina. He is at the forefront of mental health and using that with yoga and the way he practices it and the way he teaches it and, having initiatives outside of just that physical studio that he does and pours into the community, because he was a guy with a tangential mental health crisis from somebody he knew that didn't end well, and that really activated him and he took on this whole life of his own. And so you see that side of it with former players, but you also see it with active players. Tony Fields on the Cleveland Browns, he's a linebacker. He came to me and he has a nonprofit that focuses around mental health too. And not to tell his business out, but like his mom was actor in a movie that we all watched growing up, and they had the life and the money and kind of lost it a little bit, and that triggered mental health crisis in his family, and I'm sure he speaks about it publicly as well. But like you see that side of it too with active players and guys who understand that and try to make a difference with people before it happens and before it's too late.
Man, I am so happy that you are 30 and we have a lot of more time for you to influence the world. You speak of yoga and you speak of having, the mental wellness space and going on Do Not Disturb for yourself. How do you envision the future for sports and mental wellness and us shifting instead of doing calisthenics and we're doing yoga before? Because if you can relax and control your mind at a high need moment like performing on a field or on
and
a
look
court,
at Simone.
And be able to do that, to be able to control yourself when you step off of that field or off of that mat, controlling yourself in real life, you already have that sort of down pat. So how do you envision us shifting how we do sports or how we engage young people to making sure we incorporate mental wellness?
Yeah, I think it starts with, the leaders in the community and these organizations, right? So like NFL does a great job of like leading from the front, knowing that they're like the North Star for these kids playing youth football and they want to be in the NFL. So they're going to do whatever they see their favorite player doing or their favorite team doing. So the NFL prioritizing, even the physical part of it with trying to reduce concussions with the Guardian cap that players have to wear in training camp now. But even like some of the rules that make fans unhappy, but like, getting people to be more vulnerable, getting people to be more expressive and highlighting those expressions of players like Jared McCain on the 76ers paints his nails and he just got drafted. But the NBA highlighting that instead of running from it, and saying, "Oh, like we don't want this be to represent." Is like it shows that hey, he could be himself and he could be vulnerable and he can really show his true colors of I'm just me and this is what I enjoy doing. And now kids are going to gravitate towards that, and it kind of has a trickle down.
I love that.
And so I think it's just leading from the front with these sports leagues, which I think they're all starting to do, and then it goes to our idols, right? Our athletes, our stars, our front-facing people, and them just being more vocal about it, which I think their prolification of podcasts allows a lot of them to.
Yeah, I recently heard Deion Sanders opening up and talking about mental health.
A figurehead like Deion, where he touches every generation.
We want you, Deion. We want you. Prime time. We need you on the show. It's Sounds Shane Show Prime. Okay.
Come on.
So I think that will shape sports too, and it'll have that waterfall effect on the youth and how they're brought up too.
That's good. Shanti.
I mean, I'm so impressed. Any last words you want to tell us about the Do Not Disturb Wellness Studio and the Chubb Foundation?
Yeah, I would start with the Chubb Foundation. It's 7 years that we've been running this.
Really?
And,
cool.
It's something that we're real passionate about. We think.
And you're based here.
We're based out of Atlanta, yeah.
Okay.
So too much is given, much is required, and that's how me and my brother saw that when we decided to allocate resources, not just financially, but time-wise and social capital to making sure kids are touched in ways that can impact their life. And we're never going to have the expectation that because you did a program, you're going to now be an entrepreneur, or because you came to our football camp, you're going to be an NFL player. But it's giving them exposure to things and opportunities, right? Like Mercedes-Benz Stadium's in your backyard, and you might never ever go into that place to watch a Falcons game because of just the costs and those financial barriers. Why not have our football camp there, right? And now it gives a kid to play on the same turf as Bijan Robinson, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
And so it's just allowing people to dream bigger because you can't dream of something you've never seen. So I think the Chubb Foundation is trying to be at the forefront of that. And like we talked about earlier, having financial literacy, having I guess autonomy in your life to do things you want to do helps eliminate mental stress and mental problems, right? When you can be in charge and have agency over your own decisions and your own life, regardless of what you're going through, because life isn't going to be easy. But and then Do Not Disturb, giving people a respite for mental restorative services, but also like physical recovery, and having the mashup of the physical and the mental all in one space, and being able to impact the community and use those earnings and profits to dump into Silence the Shame and to dump into other nonprofits to support our community and do, amplify what you guys are already doing at a high level.
I love that. And I want to mention to you, too, we have a youth advisory council.
Oh, nice.
Better known as YAC.
YAC.
So shout out to YAC. And so those are high school students. Yeah. And then we also do youth cope clinics. And then we have a new program called Climb Up, which is for college-age students, and it's a leadership 6-month training cohort for college students. So I do think there are a lot of synergies there.
100%. I'm glad you told me that.
So I'm really looking forward to talking to you or whoever runs your foundation, because I think we can do a lot of great work for the community. So this has just been beautiful.
Good. I just want to bring together 3 main points that you mentioned while we were here.
Yeah.
It's being aware. If you're not aware of what's out there, then it's hard to connect yourself. Ask for help. You don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know it, ask someone. Somebody right next to you may have the information you need. Stay informed and educated, making sure you know stay educated about your body. Listen to your body. It tells you a lot. And stay informed of what makes you tick or what makes you happy, what makes you sad, so that you know the triggers to either turn you on or turn you off. Knowing that about yourself allows you to put yourself in a different space when those crisis moments come. And then the other thing is normalizing the conversation around mental health and mental wellness and ending the stigma. Everybody has had some type of mental health challenge or concern, whether it was with you or somebody very close to you. So making sure you normalize that conversation so that you let them know it's okay to not be okay. We want to silence that shame for real. We're not just a name in our brand. We really live what our name and brand says. So those are really great points you mentioned today. I want to give you the opportunity for them to meet you where you are, because you're meeting so many others where they are. Tell us where we can find you on all platforms and where they can find Do Not Disturb as well.
So Instagram at Chubb, CHUBB, and then at Do Not Disturb on Instagram. My LinkedIn is the LinkedIn characters and then / Brandon A. Chubb. So connecting on there as well. And the Chubb Foundation is chubbfoundation.com. So we have a contact us section on the website. So if you want to reach out and connect, those emails are on my phone and they're on, my brothers, my mom, and our board. So we all see these solicitations and emails, and would love to partner with people like you guys and grow and amplify the work that people like you all are doing in the community. And anybody who has any other initiatives would love to have conversations about how we could partner and grow each other. I know at Rice, I came here for the first time for Black Man Lab, and Wally Davis doing amazing work in the community with just Black men and giving them a space for a mental, therapy session and to really get it off their chest. So it's all those things, right? And being able to amplify and provide access and to grow.
Yeah.
Love it. And
it's turning that Bam Bam. So I think of Bam Bam, the little kid off of Flintstone. From the Flintstone, but I shifted it. It's build a man to be a man. You got to build them up.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you can't be what you can't be. So, Shanti, I want to give it to you to have the last words here as we've had a wonderful time today with Brandon.
This is, you're kicking off, Brandon, first episode of the new season. And so
I had to come correct. Once you told me that, once you told me that, I had to flip the switch. I had to flip the switch.
NFL is back, baby. NFLPA, PAF, we're just so excited about this new season of the Silence the Shame podcast. Thank you, Life, for letting your girl
of course
come on the show.
Anytime.
And again, I'm just so grateful for this partnership to be the mental health charitable partner, Silence the Shame with the NFLPA. We're looking for great conversations. Today has been outstanding, Brandon. You are to be commended for how you're using your platform, how you're talking about mental wellness in the field of football and sport. And so your mom and your brother and everybody should be really proud of the work that you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Just kudos to you, and we are certainly here to help you and support in any way.
Like blessings to everything, you and your wife and your family and everything you guys have going on. But don't forget to follow us at Silence the Shame. We have so many amazing opportunities for you to join in on our programming, volunteering at different events we have. But you know what the deal. Like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Like it, share it, subscribe it. But also text STS Cares to 707070. And remember to take time, save a life, and silence the shame. Peace.